A very good evening to you from the sports desk. Let's start here with 20 days to go to the Soweto Marathon. Organizers are confident that this year's race will go ahead as planned. The race is scheduled to take place on the 29th of this month, and entries have been open for a few weeks now. Runners can expect a few changes to this year's race, but nothing major. To tell us more about the final preparations, we are joined by Soweto Marathon NPC spokesperson Jabu Mbuli. Jabu, a very good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Gwen, and thank you for having us.
Jabu, the last time you and I had a conversation around the Soweto Marathon was before the launch, and there were a number of issues around the marathon, whether it's taking place and who owns the marathon. Have those issues been clarified? Is this why we're seeing a sign of all systems go for the race on the 29th?
Well, I think, Gwen, the issues were resolved because of we got a notification or a letter from the Central Gauteng Athletics that we are supposed to continue with the hosting and organizing of the event the year 2025. That is why now, as you said correctly, we are now 20 days before the starters gun go off.
Now, with that said, has this not cost you guys as the organizers some bit of confusion from runners, whether the race, because there were still some talk from the other section that the race will not go on. Have those things been clarified, particularly to the runners who are aiming to participate in this race?
Well, unfortunately, you are correct, that most runners are still confused, even though we're trying to use all media platforms to inform the runners that the race will definitely be continuing. But with the intimidation that was said on public platform that whoever's going to run this race will be running at their own risk. I want to state categorically clear that we are ready to host the event, and we have engaged everybody that we need to be engaged with, be it the South African Police Services, be it the JMPD for traffic control, be it be it taxi associations as well, to assist with queue marshalling and as well as controlling taxi drivers on the route. Because this is now the third year that we will be engaging with the taxi associations, and they've always been helpful in this regard. So we can assure the runners that it is all going to be smooth sailing because it will be safe for all runners to participate. Should not listen to all the intimidations that were happening. And I can also confirm that the provincial body also opened the case against the people that were intimidating the runners, because of no one has the right to intimidate a runner in the Central Gauteng Athletics.
And I guess the big thing, and I think we spoke about this some time back, Jabu, that it was a question of ownership, which to a certain extent should not affect the runners on race day. Has that been clarified, or as you say, it's still a matter that is ongoing, but the race itself will go ahead despite all that?
Well, we did everything possible in our means to try and clarify, but it's still a matter that's still ongoing. I can confirm that there's a court case that will be sitting in January, where the people that were expelled are still trying to fight that they own the event. And whereas we've always been saying that the event is owned by Soweto clubs. But in anything that happens, we're still saying whatever happens behind the scenes must stay behind the scenes, and it must not affect the people that want to be part of this magnificent event. We will be running the 30th edition this year, and we want to make sure that the runners experience the camaraderie on the route, because it is not just a marathon, but it is a heritage race that they'll be participating in.
What has the response been like from runners in terms of entries? As we said, 20 days to go. Are we seeing a surge in terms of numbers of runners who are aiming to participate in this year's marathon?
Well, the intake was very slow from the beginning, but since the reveal of the T-shirt that we did last week, the numbers have now started increasing. And the same as last year, I can tell you that in the last 2 weeks, we were able to receive or to have over 15,000 in 2 weeks last year. And I think that is the same trend that we are again seeing this year, that most runners are now starting to say, we want to be part of this event. And these numbers have started increasing immediately after we launched the T-shirt for 2025.
And what is the targeted number for race entries this time around, Jabu?
Well, we have now adjusted our target to 20,000. because of, we looked at other factors. It is a Saturday this time around. It is no longer on a Sunday, it is on a Saturday. And with traffic and everything happening, we then agreed that to minimize traffic, we will then cap the number 20,000. And we will also move some of the events. Instead of us starting the marathon at 5:30, we'll start the marathon at 5 o'clock. And the 21 kilometers instead of 6:30, we'll move it to 6 o'clock. 10 kilometers instead of 7:30, we then moved it to 7 o'clock. And one of the things that we are again going to enforce this year is that there's always been cut-off in the race flyer, but we've never enforced those cut-off times for the runners. But unfortunately this year, to ensure that we work together with the people of Soweto and ensure that there's a smooth traffic flow, especially after 8 o'clock, we're going to enforce cut-offs. The first one will be at the halfway mark, 21-kilometer mark. It will be at 20 minutes past 8. And the second one will be at the 30-kilometer mark. That will then be at 25 minutes past 9. And we will make sure that whoever is not gone past off time by then, they will then unfortunately be forced to go into the bailer buses.
Why Saturday, Jabu? Why this change in date? Because traditionally, as you say, it has always been on a Sunday.
As you rightly say, that it was supposed to have been on the 2nd of November, but because of the G20 and the precinct of the Newzroom area being on lockdown since September, we couldn't have this event on the 2nd of November. We then decided that we move it to the end of November. But unfortunately, the only date that was available for the end of November was a Saturday. Because of the 30th, which is the next day, Sunday, there's a church event happening in the same precinct in the soccer city. So we couldn't then compete with the church event. That is why then we opted for a Saturday, unfortunately, for this year's event.
With all these changes that you spoke about, are you seeing runners comfortable? Has there been some sort of, I don't know, from the runners talking about this and how they're taking this with their marathon now starting at 5 o'clock? It's moving away from what I would say is traditional times and traditional things that we're used to. Are runners comfortable with this?
Well, we spoke to a few runners before we made the change, and they were saying because of the traffic volume that they were anticipating as well, they said, it's us moving it to 5 o'clock. They feel a bit more comfortable because of now they know that come 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, they'll already have gone past the busiest areas of Soweto. And then will then give them solace to say that they can now run freely without being disturbed by taxis and traffic in the area as well. So we have spoken to a few runners before the decision was taken.
And just finally, maybe, Jabu, taking you back to where we started in terms of the safety, because again, one of the things that has put away runners or put off runners from this particular race is the issues of safety, whether the race will go on. How can you convince confidently the runners that nothing will happen and they will be safe on the road come race day?
Well, this year we went, I think, all out because of the safety or the threats that were happening. We spoke to the community police forum. They'll be in full force in the entire route, the 21, the 42, and the 10. We have been engaging with taxi drivers as well, or taxi associations, through their taxi forum, which is based in Johannesburg, but in charge of all the taxi associations in and around Johannesburg, including Soweto, where the route is. And we've already spoken to the COPS, which is the Surrounding Police Services. We have spoken to communities as well to ensure that people know about this event. And this is an event owned by the people of Soweto. So they have also committed that the safety of the runners will make sure that they do that as Sowetans.
Jabu Mbuli, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. Spokesperson for the Soweto Marathon NPC, confirming that indeed the race will go on as planned and runners are guaranteed safety despite all the problems of the field, as it were.